Just left home, going for a new venture. I'm going on a powerboat, not a sailboat this time, a powerboat, going up north towards Bella Bella with my friend Patrick. So we're just walking down Denman Street, gonna take the bus, then a ferry, then another bus to Campbell River, and then I'm gonna board. Good morning, Captain. Are you ready for the Frenchman?
Yes, I am.
Logbook.
This is the logbook.
Five in the morning. Good morning, Captain.
Good morning. I check everything from making sure that the hydraulic steering is correct to the levels of coolant, making sure that the through hulls are open so that we get raw water to cool the engines. I check the fuel filters. I've got vacuum gauges that show that whether the filters are clogged or not. I check the shaft logs to make sure there's no water, that there's the appropriate fluid to keep the shaft seals functioning. I'm going to check the oil.
This is the forecast for tomorrow for Johnson Strait. There's a strong wind warning in effect. Winds northwest 20 to 30 knots, diminishing to northwest 10 to 20 after midnight, then increasing to northwest 20 to 30 Wednesday afternoon. So, subject to what the current is doing out in Johnson Strait, we want to leave early before the wind comes up in the afternoon.
That one's mine.
Right, okay. We left Campbell River, which is down here we left the dock at 5:40 this morning, and I did that for a particular reason, because we had to go through Seymour Narrows first, and Seymour Narrows, the tide runs very, very quickly. And I wanted to hit it close to slack, but we went up with the last of the ebb tide that carried us through, and we carried the ebb tide up partway through this channel here, which is called Discovery Passage. Tide turned to flood, and so we were working against the flood, but we rode the back eddy as far as we could down the north side of this channel. Chatham Point, which is basically where you turn the corner into Johnson Strait, is there. Then we had to get past this, which is the next of the sort of second gateways, Seymour Narrows being the first. This gateway is called Race Passage and Current Passage, and the tide there, particularly if the tide is running against the wind, which it often does with a strong northwest wind, is just very, very ugly. But we were lucky. The wind stayed light. Once we got through Current Passage and the ebb had finally set in, that is, the tide was flowing back out of Johnson Strait, it was like a mill pond, and we had a sensational ride all the way to here, which is Port Neville. Now tomorrow, the plan is, because the weather is supposed to be very similar to what it was today, we're going to leave Port Neville relatively early in the morning. The tide is still ebbing in, and we are going to run 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles to this little island group here, where there's some very, very good anchorages.
Captain, time for a beer?
Oh, ouais. It was a terrific passage. We had flat, calm water, very little breeze. We had that problem with the port engine regulator, but it seemed to fix itself with a hard reset. It's all good. This is one of the most beautiful little anchorages I've been in.
Patrick, is that what you ordered for lunch?
Actually, I think I had the pastrami on rye. But I'll have this anyway. Don't take it back.
And an early dinner tonight before the sunset.
Tide turns to ebb at 11. We'll be against the flood, but that means that the seas should be reasonably flat, which is a good thing. We're headed to the Christie Passage. A little anchorage that's off Christie Passage that's known as God's Pocket. And from there, we will jump off and cross Queen Charlotte Strait tomorrow morning. It looks like the weather's going to be good.
And it's time for lunch.
Sarona is a 1994 Tollycraft 45 built in Kelso, Washington. Tollycraft were they're kind of a cult classic boat, very well designed by a man named Ed Monk. This particular boat is powered by two 375 horsepower Caterpillar diesel engines, which means that given the hull form that it has, it can go very quickly, like 20 plus knots, although we typically run at 8 knots for economy and 14 knots every once in a while to exercise the engines.
Captain, what time is it?
It's late. It's almost 25 past 5. And as it turns out, quite a nice morning, thank you very much. Weather forecast is good for Queen Charlotte Strait. As soon as the crew can get themselves organized, well, we'll be on our way.
Coffee?
Thanks, don't mind
Ready.
if I do.
quite fabulous. Broken shell, 100% broken shell.
We're entering Quackshua Channel. It's a 5-mile long channel at the top end of Calvert Island, and it's all part of the Hakai Institute. The Hakai Institute is a marine research organization that, among other things, is responsible for the management of this conservation area.
Tonight, a real treat. Patrick's special clam chowder. You beauty! What's happened? What just happened?
We had a whale appear on the bow, very, very close, and we were then within 20 feet. A humpback whale, and it was a bit too close.
A bit of a shock?
Yes, it was a bit of a shock, Thierry. I think I used strong language at the time to express the extent of my concern.
Shearwater at the end of the trip, next to Bella Bella. Weather changed a little bit. Time to go home.
We are Shearwater. We're in Shearwater on Denny Island, the Haltzik territory.
I'm interviewing Pooch.
So, the central purpose of this voyage, which started in Ladysmith and has ended up for the moment in Bella Bella, is so that we can find a raft of sea otters. My wife is crazy about sea otters, and it would be very, very special for her to see a raft of them, a couple of dozen of them all lying there, floating around and holding hands. Like every quest, this one had 3 challenges that had to be overcome before the quest could be fulfilled. The first challenge was leaving Campbell River. We had to cross through Seymour Narrows. Now, the truth is that, well, Seymour Narrows can be a really wild place with currents running up to 16 knots. We timed it and it was a piece of cake, so that was challenge 1. The second challenge was farther up in Johnson Strait, in an area around Helmickan Island with race passage and current passage, which is notorious for terrible conditions for small boats, particularly when you get wind against tide, which you do usually twice a day up there. And again, we were lucky with our timing. We reached it at slack water. The wind conditions were reasonable, and so we accomplished that challenge as well. The third challenge was crossing Queen Charlotte Strait, which is an open body of water. That is, it's a part of the inside passage that isn't inside anymore. It's open for about 40 miles to the open Pacific Ocean. And because of the combination of the weather systems that can come through, and of course the ocean swells, plus the outflow of currents from the huge inlets on the mainland side, the conditions can be quite challenging. We were lucky it was a piece of cake. And again, it wasn't all good luck. We timed it and had a brilliant passage. It was calmer than most of the bodies of water that we've passed on this trip. Once we leave Bella Bella, we're going to head south and a bit west out to an area called the Hunter Group, which is a maze of anchorages and open to the Pacific Ocean as well. And based on what we've seen so far, with otters popping up all over the place, I think that there is a very, very good chance that we will satisfy the quest for otters